What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Daily Fan Racing podcast. I guess it's a podcast on YouTube with video cast. I am Ryan Larkin. You may know me as the founder, creator, whatever, Daily Fan Racing. With me, as always, my BFF in NASCAR, Jason, DFS NASCAR. We are here to break down a little bit of our Watkins Glen thoughts, a preview for the race weekend. So we will give that to you. And then I also have a announcement at the end of this wonderful episode. So I will probably need to be reminded. I'm pretty gassed. I just got off a 2-hour and 10-minute MMA podcast for Daily Fan MMA. Had a lot of fun. It was enjoyable. I got to talk about some fights and give my perspective. Hopefully somebody likes it. But so I've been talking for nearly 2.5 hours now, and we're going to do another half hour or so here. But Jason, how you doing? Thanks for waiting. Sorry, I held you up the next 15 minutes, but hopefully you're doing all right.
You held me up. You held all these fans out who are just waiting to watch the show up, man. Yeah, about 15 minutes late. Yeah. Doing good. Coming off of, Watkins, not Watkins Glen. Where were we just at? Indy, right? Coming off of Indy, heading to Watkins Glen. So back-to-back road courses here. Obviously road course is not my favorite thing. So back-to-back weeks of this, we'll kind of get through this and get to some real racing. But last week was fun considering, there was no cautions really, and we didn't really get a bunch up the field. It was a quick race.
I loved it.
It was cool to see Michael McDowell win and just dominate. That was awesome to see. That was fun. It was cool holding the McDowell ticket. That was also fun to kind of root along. It makes a boring race a lot more fun when you got something like that you're rooting for. And then DFS came out pretty good. Despite managed to avoid some of the chalk bombs, both lineups I built cash. So yeah, it was a pretty good weekend. Happy to move along to run to Watkins Glen. God damn.
Road America.
Wherever. I'll get it right.
Give me a road course. Yeah, I love that race. So I know we kind of go back and forth on the F1 thing, right? Where I'm like, I love F1. You're like, F1's boring. That was a quintessential road course race, man. Like strategy, good racing. It was close. Like if Suarez doesn't have that pit stop issue, him and McDowell are just battling it out. Chase Elliott was right there. I loved everything I saw. It was short and to the point. I didn't have to sit and watch 3.5 hours with 2 hours under caution. It felt like a really good, concise race with good battling towards the front. It wasn't like someone was checked out. I thought the whole race was fun. I really enjoyed it. I wish we would have got a caution because I was heavy on Ty Gibbs. I needed him to get an opportunity. He was a top 5 car in my opinion, but when he got spun on lap, after that restart, whatever, lap 6, it was just such a long day to get back.
Climb out of, right? And that's why the fans were screamed for stage breaks, right? That's why back in the day, I mean, it's just when somebody has trouble, you want to see your favorite driver have a chance to get back, right? And that's why this, it's a double-edged sword, right? But it definitely made for, you did make a good point about, the race for the end and for the win was still pretty close considering it was 80 laps, green flag racing.
That's so impressive.
Really that's pretty solid. It's just still not my thing. I think not my cup of tea. I get why NASCAR needs to go this direction. I get why it's attractive to fans. I understand, and I'm not going to be able to feel like they need to be removed from the schedule, even though I joke about that. But I can just I just don't get excited about them. But that's okay. Other people can like it, and I can not, and still enjoy the sport, right? I mean, that's not. You ain't got to cry like most people like to do on social media and Twitter.
Oh God, there was I've heard so many people complaining this is why stage breaks should be there because that was a boring race and nobody had a chance to make up. Well, it's racing. You screw up, sometimes you don't get a chance. You don't get second chances if you throw a pick 6, right? Sometimes you don't get second chances if you spin out. So I definitely enjoyed it. I think going back to the oval here is good. I think we're going to get Montreal in replacement of Auto Club. And I think Sonoma is actually going to become that February date. So I think we're going to get a green Sonoma early in the year, which would be cool. So that'll still be the West Coast trip. There'll still be a third race over there. And I think we'll get Montreal in the middle of the year. That's my projection. So same amount of road courses. I think Montreal will be a cool, unique venue. To get to go there would be different for us, right? So that'll be exciting. I would like 1 or 2 less road courses overall, though. I do feel 6 and 7, we had 7 in 2021. I think a little too much. A little too much, but very, very fun race. Excited to get to another one. Hopefully it'll be a good event as well. Watkins Glen's typically delivered some good moments. So hopefully we'll have an exciting race this weekend as well. What are your thoughts on Watkins Glen? Do you have any data for us? What are your thoughts on this race and kind of how you looking to attack it?
Yeah, I didn't make any charts, any data like that this week because I know we kind of broke down a lot of the road course, scoring last week. But I think the real question is, is last week I highlighted, all the position differential scoring on road courses, and we go out there and the race happens and 5 drivers start inside the top 13 end up inside the winning lineup, right? So I guess the question is like, does it change how we approach things this weekend at the Glen? And my answer is still no. Like, I still think you're still going to want to concentrate on some position differential this week. Like, I mean, if it means people stray away from position differential this week because of what we saw last week, I'm all for that. Like, go ahead and do that. But I still think you're going to see position differential scoring at the top of the leaderboard. I mean, first off, like we mentioned, last week's race, 80 laps without a caution. That's a type of race that really handcuffs those position differential plays, right? And it's extremely rare, right? And for the NASCAR, for a race to go that long without a caution. If you just look at recent races at Watkins Glen, we've averaged 2 non-stage break cautions per race in the last 5 races here. Then if you go back even before stage breaks, in the 10 races prior to stage breaks, Watkins Glen was averaging 5.6 cautions per race. So like, that's crazy. Now, I'm not trying to say that this is going to be an extremely chaotic or caution-filled race, but I'm just pointing out that the odds of going 80 some laps again without cautions, that's not going to happen. We're probably going to get a couple, right? It's probably going to break it out. And even with the long green flag run, we still saw Byron be the second highest scorer on the slate after a pass-through penalty, and he only finished 14th, right? Allmendinger was well on his way to likely being the top scorer on the slate before he had his issues from starting 26. Eric Jones was running 10th, right, from 30th. He was going to be a top. I mean, we could have before he had his engine troubles or car troubles, we could have easily had 3 guys starting 26 or worse in the top 4 scorers with a race that ran green, right? So I still think you're going to want to have those top scorers are going to come from the back. You're still going to have guys scoring well who start inside the top 10, but their upside's capped, right? You're still are going to want to, those high price guys start inside the top 10. We warned about it last week. They still, came through okay last week, but that's because those position differential guys didn't get there. You're still not going to want to load your lineup with those guys. You're still going to look for those value guys starting inside that top 10. The guys we highlighted like McDowell, Suarez, those types of plays last week that turned out to be great, who were a lot cheaper starting inside the top 10. Even Bowman and Briscoe, right? Those guys all turned out to the winner. So those are the types of plays you want to focus for in the front of the field. Maybe one top guy, but still position differential is going to be, you're going to have those guys in your lineup.
Yeah, for sure. And anytime there's road course race, there's not a lot of laps, right? So there's not a lot of dominator points. You're not going to get destroyed by somebody leading a ton. As we saw this past weekend, even though McDowell and or Suarez were kind of class of the field, between pit cycles and things like that, they're just, even if it runs green, the pit cycle is going to jumble up enough to where they're not just leading 80, 90 laps. So, when I had a discussion with one of my friends about how I was attacking the race for my league, I was like, I'm not playing Reddick. I don't care if he leads 50 laps. If he scores 65, so what? Right. If he crashes, it's 0, right? So, and that's a cash tournament league that we're kind of in. Is you're building for can I just get to a certain price or a certain total in terms of points? But, I still have that same field this week. I still want more place differential. And when you look at it, there were guys that started outside the top 10 that ran really well. Briscoe is one of them. Guys that were able to move through the field. Cindric kind of faded late, but he started 20th. I think was in at 14th.
Cindric gets a call. So Cindric gets if they ever get a caution, towards the halfway through that run, Cindric's upside goes up, Chastain's upside goes up, Blaney's upside goes up. All those guys that started that second half of the top 10, the top 20, whatever there.
Yeah, and not only that, but when you watch those pit cycles, right? Denny Hamlin started 25th, I believe, and he only ended up 18th, 19th, but he was so off cycle that if he catches the right caution, all of a sudden,
him and Keselowski both would have also been big scorers.
And they both started I think Keselowski was 20th or 21st, whatever. So, I think even in these races where there may be caution free or we only see one caution, there will be guys on differing strategies that could gain massively from a well-timed caution. And all of a sudden, guys that you weren't even anticipating being great place differential plays are. So there's a lot of paths to that. But Watkins Glen typically, I feel like in recent life has been pretty tame. I know basically Truex and Chase Elliott have dominated this place, and they've been able to kind of check out and get a lead that has helped them just kind of. There's no tire wear, so they've been able to kind of pace the field. And when it gets strung out, no one's really beating and banging at Watkins Glen. It is kind of technical to an extent where guys are not that vicious, but we have seen huge wrecks here as well, right? So it's always possible. I think I'm going to play this like a low carnage style of race. I think these cars have a lot of grip and a lot of downforce, so it's harder for them to crash into each other. And I think we saw it last week. Like you mentioned with your chart last week, it's like, wow, look at all this variance. I was like, but is that a small sample size? And then we got a really tame race. I think we're going to see more of the same this week, but literally one caution shakes that whole race up last week. One caution shakes one up too. So got to be open-minded for sure. Real quick, I'm going to go ahead and hit the banner because I actually changed the name. Please subscribe to the channel. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. Let us know what you think in the comments. I got a couple of comments up here I'm going to pull up real quick for us to talk about. First one, does Ford win 4 straight? Isn't it crazy that Ford's coming off of 3 straight wins? That's amazing.
Dominating the summertime, man. Summertime's Ford time, right? We thought it was Toyota, but man, it's Ford.
It's been impressive too. I mean, they've been strong. Like McDowell was the cost of the field. You know, he really was. I felt like Suarez could have hung with them, but I felt like as soon as McDowell kind of got that gap at the Suarez pit stop malfunction, he just kind of coasted. I felt like he had more in that car.
He said he just wanted to be consistent. Like I don't think he wasn't out there like a Reddick just trying to burn fast laps.
Trying to kill it.
Right. He was just trying to be consistent, maintain his gap. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's possible. I mean, I think
it could be him. It could be McDowell again, right? He ran really strong at the start of this race last year. I mean, he was.
Yeah.
He was
oh God, yeah. When it was wet, him and Gillen went straight to the front. Like it was nothing. So I think McDowell definitely is alive. He was on the Denny Hamlin podcast, and I thought it was really interesting that they were talking about how they had a setup they wanted to try at Watkins Glen, and he was thinking of telling them not to do it because he loved what he just did last week. But maybe they have something up their sleeve with setup that might even be even better, and they can go out there and kick everyone's ass again. So very cool seeing McDowell get that. And then I haven't read this one, but I want to pull it up. I know this week is totally different, but do you go back to Suarez, McDowell, and Elliott? So I'll answer that. Yes, 100% yes. I think Suarez maybe is less of an obvious, like, yes, you go back to Suarez. He can be a little less consistent. McDowell has been the best road course racer over the next gen period. I don't think that's even challengeable at this point, especially after that one. Chase Elliott has probably been the second or third best. He should have won here last year. He honestly maybe was the best car last weekend, but I'll say second best to McDowell. Finished second. Elliott was really strong the entire race last week. He's been strong on road courses the entire time in next gen as well. I think those two are kind of absolutes. Suarez, I think, can show up and be a top 5 car. He can also be a 12th place car. And I don't really know how to trust him just yet. But I do think all have viability. And like even the pricing on McDowell didn't go up enough. Like Suarez didn't go up enough. Like, let's face it, McDowell should be one of the top 3 or 4 favorites going into this weekend. And he's just not. So I think there's even value on them from a DFS standpoint.
Yeah, I think their price jumped up quite a bit. Like it's definitely been a lot nice to get them at 7,500 like we got them last week. But it's definitely going to change your roster construction a little bit this week, right? With them being both over 9K, right?
Isn't that crazy that he was 7,500 though? Like
that's definitely crazy. That's so stupid. It's so stupid. Like I waited so long to even bet him. Like, and I still finally bet McDowell Sunday morning, and he was plus 1,200. And I was like, this is still like really good value here. I mean,
he was the best car. The whole practice, yeah. They definitely didn't get the love because he had never done it before, but now he's crept up. It kind of reminded me of someone else recently who was like they would win. It's probably in the truck series, but it was Majeski like all last year. It was like, dude, he's running top 5 every week, and you're still pricing him at like 9,200. And then the last part of that year, he just started clicking off points. This same thing with McDowell road courses. He's been a top 5 car like on every road course, and you're still pricing him at 7,500. So,
but with McDowell, but I guess the thing with McDowell though, right, is last week we got him, starting third at 20% ownership for 7,500. This week, if he starts third at 9,600, his ownership's still going to be more. It's going to be more than 20%. So,
oh yeah,
so like is he as a good of a DFS play this week with that scenario? I don't know, right?
Probably not. Probably not. he'll get some love. But I mean, shit, if I'll be pretty outright open about this. I think Chase Elliott wins, and if I'm looking for a second guy in the top tier to finish top 3-5, I think McDowell fits perfectly, price wise, speed wise. If we get a race like last week, I think I just lean into the chalk there, potentially. But like there are other guys. Suarez just below him. AJ Allmendinger 9,300, Buescher 9,100 would be a good contrarian option. So William Byron's only 8,800, Ty Gibbs still only 8,600. So I think there's plenty of options in that whole range. So playing chalk McDowell might not be the best, but man, he's just so good right now. He's so good. And guess what? He doesn't have to worry about stage points anymore. No more. Just do what you need to do. So I don't know. I'm pretty
He got all the stage points last week.
He got them all. Got them all. All right. So let's get into it. Like we typically do, we're going to give our best top tier, mid tier, and value plays of the week. I was in the beginning of the show, in case you couldn't tell, I was typing them all in because I had just gotten in here. But Jason, let's go ahead and start with you. Give us your top tier driver to watch.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the discussion we had I think is a good segue into my play here. Is the guy I'm looking at here is AJ Allmendinger. Many people I think are probably viewing Dinger's season this year on road courses as a bit of a disappointment, rightfully so. But he has had the pace. He just has been plagued by issues. I think it sets up as a week where we could potentially see AJ go a little bit under the radar, especially with guys, we're talking about Suarez. We're talking about Michael McDowell now, all priced above him now. And especially I think this is compounded even more if we see him qualify inside the top 10, which to me, I think that sets up to be a perfect scenario because that's when Dinger's at his best, when he's got track position, great road course racer, qualifying inside the top 10, especially if you can get him at a low ownership. I think it sets up to where Dinger can be a great play. When you look at road course tracks, the Glen has always been the track that Dinger has excelled at early in his career. It's where he got his first win at, right? He's got 4 top 5s, 7 top 10s, and 11 races here. Last year's race, he had an awesome run. He brought it home second, third most fast laps, started 6th in that race. So again, showed speed in qualifying, started inside the top 10, put up some fast laps. Last week, ton of speed. I know he had his issues last week with getting spun out by the Blaney incident, but he still fought back, finished 26th, and had 21 fast laps in that race. So definitely had the speed. I think he's got like the third most fast laps, or maybe the most fast laps in 2023 now on road courses. So yeah, like Dinger and the way he sets up this week.
Yeah, I like the price point here, probably more than anything. I believe AJ Allmendinger's finished 9th or worse in 7 of 11 road course races in the next gen car. That concerns me a little bit. Just not getting the results. He was definitely off sequence because as soon as he got spun by Blaney, which was about halfway through the run, he then came in and got tires, and that really helped.
Yeah, but tires were good. But I mean, tires.
There wasn't a lot of tire fall off. The car was quick. And then he would have finished like 22nd if he didn't go off track there with about 7 to go or whatever that was through the gravel trap. So he did have good speed. It's just, where's the consistency? That's my concern. But the price here is so cheap. I mean, we got a guy that
potential ownership. I think if he qualifies in the top 10, no one's gonna play him.
Yeah, I think people are off him enough here at this point. Like, it was Road America. He went and did that Xfinity race, and he was like a 60% probability of winning by the odds makers. He was like minus 160. It was the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. And he lost, right? And then you go through to the next road course, same thing. He was a favorite over Ty Gibbs pretty handily this past weekend, got beat. Bad showing there. I feel like people are going to start to trend on him, and this is a good time to strike, especially the price point. Like I mentioned with McDowell being like a good partner with like a Chase Elliott or a potential race winner. AJ is right there as well. I don't think AJ has race winning upside. I don't think that even is a consideration of mine. But top 5, yes. Fast laps, yes. Good score.
Top 5, 7 dom points, maybe, for 9,300. That's going to pay off really well in a road course scoring. So.
For sure. So I'm going to go ahead and be lazy with like everything I do with the top tier here. Chase Elliott. I think Chase Elliott wins this race. I don't think it's really and this isn't like conspiracy theorist nonsense. I just think when you look at road courses as a whole, they've been the best team for the past 4 or 5 years. Like they've been lights out. He's got like 7 road course wins, I think it is. Was great last week. They're coming in having the win this week, and this is his best road course. Watkins Glen is by far his best. I think, obviously if Kyle Larson doesn't move him out of the way, he wins it last year. I think he comes in and wins it this year. So love Chase Elliott as a race winner. My issue with this play, and this is why it's someone to watch, is 11K. I don't remember anyone being 11K on a road course ever. Like I just don't. Usually they're about 10,500, 600. This is high. This is an expensive price to pay for someone who may only score 65 points. Like if you look at McDowell, who qualified fourth, won the race, and led all those laps, McDowell still only scored 62 points in the race. Again, like I was talking about with the Reddick fade consideration earlier, it's like, what's his realistic upside? What's his ceiling? And it's probably only 65, 67 points with Chase Elliott. So from a DFS perspective, I don't necessarily love it as much, but I also think he could just be the best play because he goes out there and leads a ton of laps and wins. So
he's a little expensive. He scored 78 points. Sorry, I'm going to cut you off. Almost 78 points in 2019 when he started on the pole.
Right. And that's the race that I believe that Truex behind him the entire race, but can never pass him. Is that correct? Truex was P2 in that one?
Truex had, 25 fast laps, finished second. Yeah.
Yeah. So
and
that
Chase had 33 fast laps and led 80 of 90. So,
yeah, like those two were head and shoulders above the field that race. And I think that's probably – I don't think that type of scenario is possible in this car. So I think the advantage that they had was
close, right?
I think everything's too close. And I don't think Chase Elliott has that potential in this slate. And then also the other side of that is they can actually control the race better with stages back then because they can pit 2 laps before the stage in, take tires and get back out, right? When people going for stage points or whatever would have to pit under the caution, they kind of control the race better back then. I feel like there's a large gap of laps where they don't get that aspect. But I just feel like Chase is a really good play, but I'm also worried about salary. So it's someone to watch. Like when you go into the weekend, it's like, okay, he's starting second, he's starting third. He might not lead the first stage. What's his theoretical upside, and is it worth 11K? Or are you better off paying down, saving a little salary? Maybe he wins, but he scores 55, 56 points, and he's not an optimal because of his price. So just something to consider there. I do pick him to win. I do love him, but the price, man, that's so crazy to me.
Yeah, and there's obviously there's a ton of people all over Twitter on the same thought as you, same thought as news. So he's not only going to be 11K, but he's also going to be very popular as well.
Very popular.
So,
very popular. Maybe fading some chalk isn't bad.
Also, I don't know how much you've had a chance to dive into the slate, but I looked at value. Man, there's just not a lot to like down low either to be paying up 11K. So that's the other thing to keep in mind. So
there's really not because they adjusted, right? Gillen jumped up a bunch in price. Like other guys that we can kind of lean on as DFS or plays. Feels like they adjusted this week, like market correction, which was probably smart. But Bowman Love, question mark. He gets good practice with the Xfinity race. Also gives us very fast week with him as well. So Bowman was phenomenal last week. And he is my mid-tier play of the week. So that was good timing on that question. Bowman was fantastic last week. HMS as a whole was fantastic last week. Larson was strong. Bowman was strong. Byron under complete green flag conditions and having, he had to do that pass through, but even with the caution, he still restarted last. So he was able to drive through the entire field, finish, inside top 15 under green conditions. Like that's a lot of track to make up. I feel like Bowman was super strong last week, and at only 8K, I think that's great value. He ended up 5th there in that race, which was fantastic. If you remember at Chicago, he was a top 10 car. When Hamlin spun him, but he had a motor issue, so the Hamlin spinning out deal didn't really matter. But that was for about a 10th place position.
Finished top 5 at Coda, right?
Yeah, he was great at Coda. Like, there's just been a lot of good road course performances here. I do like track time, even though the cars don't really translate much. I do like track time for anybody on a road course. So yeah, I love Alex Bowman as a value. He's got good results. I think he's a great salary saver if you do want to pay up for his teammate Chase Elliott. If you're projecting Chase Elliott to win, because his car is going to be awesome, you probably should be on Alex Bowman as a result as well, because then that most likely means HMS as a whole are going to be good. So I just love everything he offers there. I also don't think he's a great qualifier in general. So I think he's always going to offer some place differential upside. He's never going to be a guy that watch him qualify third, but I never think of him as a guy that's going to qualify third, right? I think of him like 12th or 11th or 8th or 9th, like last week. And it's like, oh, okay. If he does gain those 4 spots and finish 5th, that was like 45 points at 8K. So I just like the potential there, and he could be a dark horse race winner if HMS are clear of the field, kind of like they were. Aside from McDowell and Suarez, it would have been a 1-2-3 Hendrick finish there. So I think there's a lot of potential there with Bowman.
Yeah, I like the Bowman call there. I liked him a lot more last week at $6,700. That was again a guy that they gave us a nice steal on last week. So do like that call this week. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll go to mine here. I'm gonna go with Kevin Harvick. I know he's not a guy that I think we think of. Road courses are not exactly Harvick's forte, but he does make a pretty good security blanket this weekend as a former Watkins Glen winner, right? For only $7,600. He does come into this weekend with the 8th best average finish on road courses in the next gen era. So that's 2 top 5s, 3 top 10s, and 7 top 20s for $7,600. He's done all this while not qualifying better than 18th in any of those races. So been solidly providing position differential. This has resulted in him being in the top 13 in DraftKings, scoring in 8 of 10 road course races in the next gen era. And that's the top 8 in DraftKings, scoring in 6. So been a phenomenal at putting up points for us. Like, I don't understand the $7,600 here. And plus, this is his best road courses are Sonoma and the Glen, since he's raced, been there so much experience at these types of tracks. He finished 12th in this race last year, average position of 12.73 at Watkins Glen in the last 3 races is 6th best in the series. So love Kevin Harvick's value.
Boom. All right. Yeah, I mean, Harvick's the best thing about him is it place temperature upside. Like he just doesn't qualify good. I think a lot of that is because it's just new tracks. Like Watkins Glen and Sonoma, he seems to do really well still because he's got a shit ton of laps on him, right? I think he's behind
24th, I think, last year here.
We'll ignore that. It's small sample size, one race. But like he has a ton of laps here, so I think when he gets to the track, he's up to speed. I guess is my point. Like he knows how to drive the track. It's not like he's unfamiliar with it. With this last race here at Indy Road Course, he has a couple of races, but he qualified at the back because he has no experience. At the Chicago Road Course, he started from the back. He had no experience. He was just slow the whole weekend. But in the race, he's the most experienced driver in the field. He knows how to gauge himself off of other drivers. He knows how to find pace based off of what the other drivers are doing. He knows how to race a race, right? You also have one of the best crew chiefs on the box that great at strategy, great at doing a lot of things, able to get him track position. And if he qualifies deep in the field, he's going to offer place differential. Like he was a lock for me last week in my cash lineup because I was like, I don't give a shit if he finishes 24th. It's 32 points. Yeah. Like, that type of thing. So I think he's definitely a guy to watch. If he underqualifies again, there's a lot of place differential potential, and he's only 7,600. It's cheap. So I definitely agree with that one. Who's your value tier driver to watch here, Jason?
Yeah, I know we've had this conversation. I feel like this is like deja vu all over again. We're
for the 10th time in our life.
We're coming to a road course race, and Jason's going to talk about Austin Dillon, right? But I mean, just look at the value. There's not a lot there, right? There's not a lot here on the plate. And I know Dillon, he's not a sexy option when you come to these road courses. I get it. But he's got some appeal with, the options on the slate. When he doesn't find trouble, he is a top 20 machine. 6 finishes of 19th or better in the next gen era. And 4 finishes of 30th or worse. Yeah, I get it. That's not very good. Boom or bust, though. On road courses in 2023, Dillon has an average position, are you ready for this one, of 18.63. That's at least 3 positions better than anyone priced $7,100 or lower. That's also a better average running position than Kevin Harvick, Ryan Blaney, and Austin Cindric this season. When looking at the Glen specifically, we see, similar results from Dillon. Not great, but not terrible. It finishes 17th and 15th in the last 2 races here. Should just be a nice, solid race. Nice value on a slate that just things look iffy down there when you start looking much lower than $6,300. I feel like give me a guy who can probably finish top 15.
So I'll start. Austin Dillon sucks for road course racing, but the caveat to that is RCR does not. RCR has a lot of speed on the road courses, and that has aided Austin Dillon. If he gets track position, he's good enough to kind of maintain it. I know I was watching Ty Gibbs behind him for a lot because I was reliant on Ty Gibbs for cash hitting. At that point, because I played Gibbs over McDowell. What a great choice. I was so high in Gibbs going in that race, and I think I was right. It just getting spun out killed him. But I was watching him, and he was quicker than Dillon, but it was like a tenth a lap. I was like, dude, how is he not just marching down Austin Dillon at this point? And that goes to show that Austin, in a race scenario, can maintain his tires, as we know, can put together laps, can get a good finish. So even though he got a little bit advantageous by getting up there, I felt like he maintained it and held that position the entire race. Like he didn't just fall back. His lap times were competitive with Austin Dillon, or I mean, with Ty Gibbs, with Ryan Blaney, with Austin Cindric. So
he's gotten better.
I don't disagree with him. Now, I think his car is just better than the Penske cars on road courses, than what Cindric and Blaney have. I think it's better. So I think that kind of aids him. I think Kyle Busch is potentially in the best car. And I know we got a question in the comments about Kyle Busch. What's going on with KFB? Last week he was concerned about motor issues, but he had a fast car like early in the race. He was a top 5 car. I think he's going to have top 5, top 3 car this week. I think Kyle Busch is one of the sneakiest tournament plays of the weekend. I think he's
good track history here too.
Good track history.
Really good here.
I think he's the biggest
track time on Saturday.
Yeah. Biggest threat to the Hendrick cars, I think, is Kyle Busch this weekend. But Austin Dillon, same thing. Great cars. So I don't mind the pick. I'm going different. I think I'm going to probably surprise people, or people think I'm going to be crazy. I don't care. I like being crazy. Mike Rockenfeller. So you're probably like, who the fuck is that?
I've heard he's raced before. Just $5,500.
He's raced one race.
$5,500 is what shocked me on him, but I want to hear it.
A week ago. So he's in the 42 for Noah Racist Gregson, or whatever the hell he is. But stupid situation. Like all the way around, just stupid. But last week was really good for Rockenfeller. You get a limited practice time, 20 minutes, 15 minutes. You get a qualifying session, and he qualified 37th. Of course he did. All those guys did. Button, Kimi did, Kobayashi, Kamui Kobayashi qualified player. Like, they just don't have the track time, right? And that's a problem. But he finished 24th, and he scored 31 points at 5,600. And if I'm looking to pay up potentially for Chase Elliott, but potentially for Kyle Larson, for Michael McDowell, who's now more expensive, who I can't just get freely, for some of these guys, where do I say the salary? I think this is the best option. Legacy has not been good on road courses. They've been piss poor, honestly. Like, they just don't have speed. That probably means he qualifies poorly, which gives me place differential upside that I really, really like. I also think he just had a whole race. He didn't have 15 minutes in the qualifying session. He had a whole race to learn. I think he's going to have a better understanding of the cars. I liked what he did in that race. He stayed out of trouble when some of the other guys didn't. And his lap times towards the end were much, much better. So if I'm looking to punt, I like that he's a road course veteran, that he's cheap. I like that he just pulled off the performance I'm looking for at 5,500. It was scoring 31 points last week. So I think he checks a lot of boxes. I want to see how he looks in practice. I want to see how he qualifies. If he qualifies 20th, obviously I'm not going there. But, I think there's potential with this play. And considering the fact that Eric Jones basically has qualified 35th in every road course ever with this next-gen car, I think it's pretty likely that this guy's starting towards the back. And that gives me the potential to gain some position differential. Even in a non-carnage race, he passed 13 cars. Give me some carnage. I can see him in the top 20 finish, right? So I think it's a good value play. I don't know if anyone else will, but screw him.
Hey, you know what? I mean, given the options down there, like, what the options aren't very good down there when we're talking Rockenfeller in the 42 Legacy Motor Club car, like the cars that can barely make it to the finish line.
Yeah, or you got Ryan Preece, but
or you can play Cole Custer.
I can't wait for the people to pretend like he's in a Stuart Haas car this week. Anyways, let's move on. One more time, let me do this because I don't know how many times I get to do this. Hey guys, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave a comment, and let us know what you think. I've been watching a lot of YouTube over the past 4 months, and that's how they all do it. They're all positive, and they're like, "Hey guys, thank you for subscribing, whatever." Do all that stuff for me. I appreciate it. All right, Jason, who's your race winner? Who you got to win? I don't have the odds up here. I'm sorry, I was late to the show. Who do you got to win it, though?
Well, I mean, we see it, like we hear it. There's a lot of steam, building around this whole Chase Elliott, narrative with his history at the Glen, the need to win for the playoffs. Everybody is backing Chase Elliott, thinks he's going to do it. Like they're writing it off as like it's written in stone. This is going to happen. I'm going to go with the man who has been the best on road courses in the next gen car. And frankly, this season as well. I'm going to go Tyler Reddick. Second in average position, second in fastest laps. Got the win at Coda earlier this season. Obviously, he qualifies well. He's going to have track position. 4 front row starts in the 4 races this year. So he's going to get what we all want. Track position was great. Obviously, last week ran inside the top 4 all race. Had 5 fastest laps. Just not quite as good as those other guys there. If you look at last year's race here, he also had solid pace, despite, he had a 7th place finish. But if you look into that, he contended and led early in that race, contended, top 3, ran strong at the beginning of that race, got on the wrong end of pit strategy in that race and got spun out and still was able to come back for a 7th place finish. So definitely had the speed. If it's a clean race, Reddick's going to be contending for the win here. He's going to be up there. He's shown the speed all year, and you love that you can get him for plus 800 here. Like, you've been getting him for plus 300 and 400 all year on road courses, and now you get to come here and get Reddick for plus 800. So I like it.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, Reddick's definitely probably towards the front. I'm maybe a little recency bias with thinking Chevy's a little bit better than Toyota right now on road courses. But, I mean, Reddick's going to be strong. I think I'd put him in my top 5 in terms of race winners. I think, obviously, the speeds there, it's just getting the complete race from Reddick and Co. Is the key. But definitely like that one. I've already told you who I'm picking, Chase Elliott. I don't buy into narratives. I think people are going to have fun. I'll probably even make the comment that NASCAR wants him to win. I will say if someone spins out with 2 laps to go, they ain't throwing shit in terms of cautions if Chase Elliott's leading. That for sure. But I don't think NASCAR's really like doing anything overtly. I think just Chase Elliott's going to be the best car. And this is a race he wins pretty frequently. Obviously, the odds makers, I think he's like plus 330 or something, which is ridiculous. Very, very low number there. I just think he's the favorite. He's favorite for a good reason. This isn't like oval racing where someone can show up and be a 10th off and be a 12th place car. Chase Elliott's just going to be that much better than most people, and he should be a top 5 car. So he'll be within range of the race win. And quite frankly, I think he's better than his teammates on road courses. And I think, like I said, recency bias wise, I think HMS is better than the Toyota. So I think Chase Elliott's a clear race winner. I don't think you could bet it. I don't know where you can get any value on Chase Elliott. Maybe you bet him to make the playoffs, and that's how you get a little better value. I don't know. But nevertheless, I'm being asked to pick the race winner, and it's Chase Elliott.
There you go. I mean, there's nothing to argue with there.
Thank you.
He's a favorite for a reason. Like
let's argue, Jason.
I will say he hasn't won the last. He hasn't won the last 2 here. I mean,
there you go.
If you're going to say anything against him,
that's it. He was about a lap and a half or whatever it was last year from winning it. But yeah, you're right. So that brings us to the end of the show. I do have a bit of an announcement, like I said. So when I started this show, it was, I don't even know what I was thinking. So I'll preface it with this. Me and my wife have one night a week that we're supposed to spend time together, and it's Thursdays. And then I dropped a bombshell on her, like, hey, I'm going to do this show on Thursdays, previewing the race weekend. The one caveat I said to her is, as long as it makes sense and the juice is worth the squeeze, that's what we're going to do. Unfortunately, it just really hasn't equated to what I was hoping for. Seeing viewership drop, we're seeing a lot of those things drop. So what I'm going to be doing is trying out some things for the rest of the year, trying to get some momentum on the YouTube, trying to gain more subscribers. I don't think we've gained any subscribers in like a month, it feels like. So we're going to go ahead and take a hiatus from this show. We're not going to be doing it on Thursdays anymore. First and foremost, I thank Jason for doing it. I asked him early in the year, I was like, hey, you want to do a show again? We can do it Thursdays. I picked the wrong day. But for me, I haven't been getting to spend a lot of time with the wife. I have a 6-year-old, 4-year-old. It's very hard to spend like more than 30 minutes a night with her. And then on Thursdays, my oldest goes to our in-laws, and it gives us some time. So in its place, though, I'm going to be doing a quick picks video every Saturday/Sunday morning with post-qualifying picks. So I'm going to give you my favorite plays just like I do here, but with actual insight and data based off of qualifying practice. We're going to do that. If you followed me last year, I did this for Mayo Media where I gave out a quick pick video. It's like 8-10 minutes long. I do think we'll do a show or two like this throughout the rest of the year, me and Jason. I just don't know when it'll be. It may be like if Daytona was phenomenal and we have a lot to talk about going into the playoffs and we just want to talk stuff, we'll do a show, but we're just not going to be consistently here every Thursday. We're going to work on some other stuff content wise, but I'm be honest, I'm going to put my family first on this one. And that's kind of what we're doing. But I don't know if you got anything to say in regards to it, Jason, but I just want to say thanks to everyone who does watch and will continue to watch. I guess if, Sunday morning I wake up and this video has 300, 400 views and we get a bunch of subscribers, I can change my mind, but I kind of feel like a TV show that would get canceled at this point, and that's how I'm going to treat it. Like, hey, we're not moving the needle enough. Let's try something else to make that needle move. So we're going to do that going forward. But I appreciate you, Jason, first and foremost. Thank you for doing it. I know you're going to do some Run Pure Sports video. So they'll always have your podcast with Coop whenever you do that. And we'll, of course, do other stuff. But I appreciate you. Anything to add to that?
Yeah, no, you're just taking me back here. I'm just trying to digest everything. You've caught me off guard here. You're basically firing me in front of everybody. So like, hey,
I told you a week ago.
No, yeah, I mean it's been fun, man. I just like chatting NASCAR with you. So I mean, views or no views, man, that's how it's been for me. So you've like anytime I get a chat with somebody who knows as much about NASCAR as you do, and heading into the weekend, it helps set me up for success and the people that follow me. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And we will do stuff together for sure. I know I'll want to do some stuff later in the year, but
I mean, how would I have known to play Chase Elliott this weekend if I didn't do the show with you?
Jesus Christ. Exactly. No, it's more like I'm firing Gordo. Not firing you. You're a casualty, but I'm firing Gordo.
Yeah.
He just found out listening to this. I'm not even going to tell him. I'm hoping he listens to this and he finds out as he's studying for his citizenship for America or whatever the hell he's doing. But anyways, I appreciate everyone for checking it out. We will definitely be doing more content. I promise we will do more stuff on here. My goal is not to disappear from the YouTube stuff. It's just to find other avenues for it and go from there. But I appreciate everyone. Thank you for checking out the show. I guess, yes, if it shows up with a shit ton of subscribers and you guys finally tell your mom to subscribe, we might be able to talk out of it. But I appreciate you guys. Be on the lookout. First quick pick video will be this weekend. So be on the lookout for that. And catch you next time. Thanks, guys.
See ya.